Welcome to VBA Modeling for Supply Chain Planning and Financial Analysis. Here we will teach you how to write your own VBA code within Excel. This will be presented to you by Supply Chain Systems of Miami, Florida. Please contact us if you would like us to build models for you, or if you'd like to learn more about building the models for yourself. I hope you enjoy the tutorials, and please follow the link in the video description to get your own copy of the VBA code that is presented here. Welcome back. Today our lesson on VBA is going to be with a focus on dates. In planning and scheduling, dates are all important. That dimension of time has to be considered with all the things that you're doing relative to purchasing things, transporting items, manufacturing, building things. Everything is date oriented. Many times it's relative dates to today, or they want to know from the start date of a project when is something going to be finished. So it's important to understand how to deal with dates within Excel, and similarly with VBA we're going to go over some of the different aspects of dealing with dates. So in this lesson number 4, let's go over some of the different aspects relative to that. The dimension statements up here, there's actually a date dimension which will carry out a date all the way through from months, years, days, hours, seconds, and potentially even milliseconds if you want to keep track of those things. Usually not that relevant in this kind of planning and scheduling. But you do have numbers that are represented as a date. They'll be very large numbers, and then they get converted into a date format or a time format. The second dimension statement is just dealing with names of things, where we're going to have a Wednesday or a month is February. You can actually have a string designation for a variable that's used for a date. So we have old week day name as a string, and we're just defining these two variables in our dimension area of our VBA code. Alright, starting through the code itself, let's hit the F8 key and start our process here of going through each line of code. We're going to select the main worksheet. It's already been cleared, so it's going to clear everything in columns A through E. We're going to prepare the spreadsheet, and we're going to put some labels in. So this is the first time you've seen the syntax for actually doing some formatting on the spreadsheet. We're going to take all of row number 2, and we're going to bold the font. And this is the format for doing that. And we just make that to a true, and that means it's everything that we type in there is going to be bolded. So let's hit the F8 key. We won't see any action until we put something in it. Alright, in that same row, A2, we're going to put a label in. And here again, we're using the multiple assignments on one line, separated by these colons. So you can see it's acting on one at a time. And let's just kind of breeze right through each one of these. So in A2, we're going to put in today's date within quotes. The next one we're going to do is B2, which is right next to it, week number. And then we're going to say in C2, we're going to do week name, weekday name. All right. Now in the next row, we want to put some information in. So if we want to really know what today is, this is the format of how you actually refer to today. And it's just simply now with a left and a right parentheses. So in the A3, let's hit the F8 key, and you can see what popped up there. It's actually showing you the date plus the hour and the minutes. The next one is B3. It's weekday parentheses now, so it's taken today's date and it's going to describe the day of the week. So let's hit the F8 key, and it's the second day of the week. And if we want to know the name of that particular day of the week, then it's weekday name, parentheses, weekday, now. And if we hit the F8 key, you get Monday. So it's interpreting this particular numerical representation of the date, and then it's figuring out from its normal calendar that's embedded in the computer, and it's figuring out which day of the week it is. It's the second day, and since Monday is it follows Sunday, and that would be the name of that particular day of the week. All right, now let's go down to selecting row 5, and we're going to do something very similar here. We're going to show you another way of actually doing some formatting. And with this construct here, we have a with and an end with statement. And everything in between is a similar type of an action where we're taking the first part of the statement here, which in this case is selection. So selection dot font dot italics dot bold is all a continuation, as if we had repeated the selection word 3 times here. So it would have been selection italics, selection bold. So this is a shortened form of being able to do 3 different formats all at the same time with one statement, but it's embedded within a block of a with end with statement. So we're going to initiate those 3 things. Let's go through each one of the lines, F8, 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 and finish it up. So anything now that we put in there, it's going to be formatted according to the way we just designated with that block, with italics and with bolding. So let's go ahead and execute a line like we did before and see what it looks like. So in A5, we're going to put in old date, F8. Range B5, we're going to put in the weekday number. And here again, as a label, we're going to put into C5 the weekday name, very similar to what was up above. Now in the next line, we're going to put in some old dates. Okay, in B6 we're going to do the same thing. Okay, and then finally for the last one, we're going to use a function to determine the day of the week. And there it is. So now we have another way of actually calculating the date. So we designated what the old date was. You can see that up here on this line, we just picked a date. We said 8/12, 2015, and we said that that's going to be the old date. Here again, just like we did before, this construct that we had here, or the formula that we used, would actually calculate for us for that particular day, what day of the week was it. We're saying it was a Wednesday. I'm sorry, it was the 4th day, and the weekday name would be Wednesday. So depending on what you needed, I'm giving you exactly how you can accomplish that with these formulas. And this is with the VBA, it's automatically writing it into those cells. Again, like we had talked about before, we had named a cell, result 1, and that's going to stay there. We found that in this list of all the names that were already created. Alright, so when we come down to this next line here, we're saying if the old date equals Wednesday, then B flag 1 is true. So we're making a conditional test here. It's a Boolean test. And when we execute, let's keep the cursor there, F8, it's true. So we're going to set that flag, B flag 1, to a true. And now we're going to use that test and make other determinations here. If B flag 1 is true, then we're going to say write in range 1, I'm sorry, result 1 is going to have date was a Wednesday. So let's hit the F8 key, see what happens. That was true, we knew that from before. And if that wasn't true, it was going to write something else in there. So we can come back and we'll play with this a little bit, and you can see what happens here. So now you're seeing another construct. It's an expansion on the if-then statement, the conditional test before, where we can actually have another keyword in here called else. And we're creating another block, and you can have multiple things occur between the then and the else if this statement is true. And if it's not true, multiple lines can be in this block before you hit the end if statement here. So now you would refer to this particular construct of a sentence as if then else with an end if at the end of it. So this would allow you to do some very sophisticated conditional testing and have two different directions with multiple things happening in either direction as far as whether it's true or false. So it wrote into the result 1, which was, again, if we click on it, you can see that was the name for that particular cell, A8, and it wrote in that statement. If we want to make it a cleaner, we can adjust the column width just by double clicking on that up there in the column, and it wrote in the date was a Wednesday. Alright, the next one, let's see what happens here. If B flag was true, again it was true, we know that, so it's going to do now, like we were saying, instead of just one action, we can have two actions occur. Okay, old date was a, okay, and then right below it was a Wednesday. So now I'm just demonstrating it doesn't matter what the actions were in the middle of the block. I just want to show you the format and the syntax of how you would write a more sophisticated conditional test using the if then else statements here. Alright, now we can go back and we can change the values in here and play with this for a while. I don't want to overly do these things for you. Hopefully you get the idea. But feel free to change some of the conditions and change the dates for the old date. And as it changes to a different date, you'll see how it acts differently, and it will pick other parts of the conditional logic and write different things into the cells. So hopefully you enjoyed this session, and hope to see you next time.